Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. Recently, I picked up the Retro Fighters Xbox controller. This third-party controller has multiple new capabilities and uses a modern form factor. I bought one recently and I want to tell you how I felt about it. Before we get into it, I want to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. And I had heard about this controller a while back, but it wasn't until many people asked me how I felt about it that I considered buying it. So many of you were genuinely interested, and I thought, why not give this a shot? And I did buy this. This is not a free review copy, nor does Retro Fighter sponsor me. So it's a legitimate question whether this is worth the $44.99 asking price that I paid. So if you're a longtime watcher of this channel, you should know that I'm a bit of a purist. I don't really mess around with console emulation, and as far as controllers go, I love both the original Duke and S controllers. I have amassed a horde of these things, and seriously, I love them. The Duke has a nostalgic charm, but I do find the S to be a great feeling controller and is my preferred method of play on the Xbox. I've not messed around with many third-party controllers or modern options to use modern controllers. I personally like to play games with their intended controller. And that being said, I think the Retro Fighter does provide a nice modern take on the classic controller and leads to something that is nice to hold and play on. First, I want to talk about the look of this controller, which is sleek and nice. They offer both a black and transparent green option for whatever you like, and I'm a sucker for transparency, so I went for the green. It gives a nice retro Xbox aesthetic, but goes for the more modern controller form factor that we still get to this day. It's very similar to the Switch Pro controller or modern Xbox controller, side by side with the Elite controller and my purple controller here. You can tell it's a skinnier version of that. Obviously, the new ones are missing the white and black buttons on the front. It holds in the hand pretty much the same way and feels similar to a Switch Pro controller. For a modern console, I like the heaviness of the newer Xbox controller because there is a lightness to this one. It's not a detractor though. The S itself is a light controller and I think they feel similar to each other in weight. It does hold very well in the hands though, and my hands fit this controller perfectly. Reaching for sticks and the placement of the triggers is exactly what you want. Looking at it though, I was worried about the size of the buttons. In comparison to its counterparts, they feel small and squished down, but I have to say playing games with these buttons, I could tell no difference. On stream, I played Tony Hawk 4 with this, and it uses all of the face buttons a lot, and I grew up playing these on the Xbox, and the S controller is what I like for these games, and here, after a few minutes of getting used to it, I was hooked back in with zero issues. Along with the great sticks, I got to test a few other games which all feel good, and I did get to test a shooter with these sticks. The sticks are tight and go back to the center with a nice firmness. The menu and select buttons are both solid, and the D-pad is nice and squishy, and I thought it worked well, and dare I say it, has a little bit better of a feedback than the S controller D-pad. My biggest issue though were the white and black buttons. These things are tiny, and luckily most Xbox games don't use these extensively, but I caught myself pressing where they should be rather than where they were. Still though, I don't think this is a big issue as you can get used to it with time, and also like a lot of third-party controllers for the era, the white and black buttons become bumpers on the back, which is convenient and more understandable to someone who may have never touched the original controller and played a lot of PS2. I played a few games in multiple genres on stream, and the controls and sticks all felt great. I tested a shooter on my own and I thought the sticks held up. And I want to be the one who doesn't test Halo with this thing, so I went ahead and tried out another great shooter, Pariah, and the sticks felt excellent to me, and aiming and shooting was on point, and as a whole, this thing feels good to play. I think the biggest benefit of this controller though is the wireless capability. Just plug in the dongle, and with the tap of the button, you're gaming. For me, this is the biggest plus. I can easily sit wherever I need to in my room and take notes on my laptop without having a wire get in the way. I also know a lot of people use this for the Switch and PC because it has that capability, but personally, I see no reason. The Pro controller does just fine on the Switch, and if I'm gaming on PC, I'm just going to plug in my Xbox Series controller because I like the feel and heaviness of that a lot more. If you have no other options though, it's not a bad choice. To encapsulate my feelings on the Retro Fighter controller though, I think it's good. It feels solid in the hands, and the buttons and bumpers with the sticks have zero issues, but this has not become my go-to controller. As someone who reviews and plays these games, I always stick with the original controllers for their feel. I like to stick with the controllers because that's what the intended controller was, and I just like their feel. I also think they are great controllers in themselves, and of course, this is just a me thing, and I know plenty of people that hate the original controllers, and this will be for you. It's also for anyone that can easily get a hold of the original controllers. I just personally don't see the major benefit I get here other than the wireless part of this controller. That is the best part here and is probably the main reason that this will come out in play sessions. And of course, this is taking into account how I review games and I play games to be reviewed. And of course, this takes into account that I review games and I always feel like authenticity when I play my games, especially when using the original controllers, is a key for me, but 90% of you are not worried about issues like that. So in that case, this is for you as well. So that being said, will I use this all the time? No. But do I recommend it? Yes. If you like the original controllers, I don't think this will replace it, yet if you need something different, this is a solid choice. It's great to play with and has a modern feeling. Don't go into this looking for the best Xbox controller ever, but if you want to change it up a little bit, I don't think this is a bad choice. But that does wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this review, please leave a like as it helps me out in the algorithm, subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content, and be sure to check out my second channel, Camp Extras, for more retro content. Comment below with how you feel about this controller if you've ever used it. Also, tell me your opinions on the Duke and S controllers. I'd love to hear that. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.